So here we have a question, and the question is we have to arrange the compounds in increasing order of heat evolved during hydrogenation. Very basic question. Let us see how to answer. So first of all, let me tell you the heat of hydrogenation depends on two factors. All right, and the first factor and the most important factor, or you can say the dominant factor, is the number of pi bonds. All right, that means the molecule or the compound with more number of pi bonds will have a higher heat of hydrogenation, whereas the second factor is it is inversely proportional to the stability of the molecule. All right, so basically it is inversely proportional to the stability. So these two factors is what we have to understand in order to answer this question. All right, so let's first of all see the number of pi bonds in the compounds given to us. So you can see in first compound we have one pi bond, in the second also we have one pi bond, in the third as well as in the fourth also we have one pi bond. So that means pi bond cannot be the deciding factor in this case. So definitely we have to look for stabilities now. And let me tell you, whenever it comes to alkenes, the stabilities are generally checked with respect to the hyperconjugation effect. So, and we know that in order to address stability using hyperconjugation, we have to count the number of alpha hydrogens. So let us do that. So now here you can see in molecule 1, you can see this carbon is sp3 hybridized and it carries no alpha hydrogens, isn't it? Because this is alpha carbon. Alright, because the carbon which is directly attached to the pi bond here, that is this sp2 carbon. Alright, the carbon directly attached to this sp2 carbon is the alpha carbon, and here you can see on the alpha carbon we have no hydrogens. That means in this option, in the first compound we have 0 alpha hydrogens. Similarly, let's look in the case of second compound. So now you can see in second compound these are the alpha carbons, and you can see on each of the alpha carbons here we have 3 hydrogen, and that means a total of 6 alpha hydrogen in the case of compound 2. Now moving to compound 3, again you can see we have 2 alpha carbons, that means a total of, and yes, you can see in this case also on the alpha carbon we have 3 hydrogen each. So in this case also we have 6 alpha hydrogens. Moving to option 4, that is compound 4. So here you can see in this we have 3 alpha carbons. Alright, so this one and this one. And you can clearly see out of these 3, 2 alpha carbons do not contain hydrogen. That means only this one carbon will contribute for hyperconjugation, and this carbon is having 3 alpha hydrogens. So which means here in this case we have 3 alpha hydrogens. Now clearly you can see the number of alpha hydrogen in second and third is same. So how to compare the stability in this case? So it is very simple. You can see the second one is a trans configuration, whereas the third one is cis configuration. Let me write it here. Yes, and we know that trans is usually more stable than cis. So let me write it here. We know that trans is more stable than cis. So now you can clearly see we are able to address the stability, and let me write down the order also. So you can see the increasing order of stability for these 4 compounds will follow the order, and you can see that the first one has 0 alpha hydrogen, so the first one will be least stable. Followed by this, the fourth one has 3 alpha hydrogens, so then it is fourth one. After this we have the case wherein both compounds have 6 alpha hydrogens, and one is trans and the other one is cis. So we know that cis will be less stable than trans, so that means third one, and then the most stable is the second one, isn't it? Absolutely. And now we know that heat of hydrogenation is inversely proportional to stability, which means the increasing order for heat of hydrogenation will be, let's write it down. It is very simple. We know that the one which is least stable has the highest heat of hydrogenation, according to which we can say that the least one will be for the case second, then comes the third one, then comes the fourth, and the maximum heat of hydrogenation in this case will be for option 1. So that means 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. So let's match now with the options. So now let's look for option A. You can see here it is saying the least is for first, whereas as per the order that we calculated, first should have the maximum heat of hydrogenation, which means this option A is not the correct answer. Moving to option B, it says third has the least heat of hydrogenation and fourth has the maximum. But we know that the maximum is for option 1, or you can say the maximum is for compound 1. So this also cannot be the answer. Moving to option C, here you can see that we have second as the least heat of hydrogenation, followed by 3, then 4, and then 1. So let's match. So second, 3, 4, 1. Absolutely, this is the exact match. Alright, so that means option C is the right answer to this question. But let us look option D as well. So you can see option D, the fourth one is said to be the lowest heat of hydrogenation, which is not right. We know that this is not correct. And hence the answer to this question is option C. Question is the addition of HBr to alkene we have to talk about, and this is being done in the presence of peroxide. And we have to predict this type of reaction is an example of what kind of reactions. All right, so you can see very simple question. We know that whenever HBr is added to an alkene in the presence of peroxide, then first of all the free radical mechanism takes place, isn't it? The free radical mechanism takes place. That means such kind of reaction proceeds through a free radical mechanism wherein there are 3 stages. The first one is initiation, then the propagation, and then the termination, isn't it? And obviously we know that to initiate such reactions will be requiring sunlight or any other energy source. All right, so now you can see the options given to us are nucleophilic addition. We know that this is not a nucleophilic addition. We know that this HBr addition in the presence of peroxide is Kharash effect. It follows anti-Markovnikov's rule for addition, isn't it? We know that in this case, since free radical mechanism is the one that operates, nucleophilic addition cannot be the right answer. Then next one is electrophilic substitution. Not at all right. We know that it is a free radical based mechanism. Then option C says free radical addition reaction. Now the question here is it addition or not? Let us find out. So now we know that let's assume we have an alkene like this, that is CH2 double bond CH2, and let's say we are adding HBr to it in the presence of sunlight and peroxide. Alright, and yes, usually the peroxide that we use here is benzoyl peroxide. Alright, so I am currently writing just peroxide here, but for your reference I have told you it is benzoyl peroxide that we usually use. So now what happens in this case is this pi bond dissociates, alright, and finally what you will get is CH3 CH2Br. Alright, so this is what you will get finally. Clear? And yes, let me tell you, since I have taken symmetrical alkene in this example, therefore you are not able to understand the Kharash effect exactly with this example. But our main purpose is to simply tell whether this reaction is nucleophilic addition or electrophilic substitution or free radical addition. So this example will solve the purpose. So now you can see this is free radical addition reaction. Alright, why addition? Because you can see in this case to the alkene, the hydrogen and bromine is getting added. Alright, nothing is leaving, nothing is getting substituted. It is simple addition of H and Br to this alkene, isn't it? And that is how we can say it is addition. And as I told you, it goes by free radical mechanism. Alright, so you have to remember this thing. And yes, is it acid catalyzed reaction? No, it is not. Alright, so that means the correct answer to this question is option C. And as you can see in the question, we have a reaction given to us and we have to predict the product. Very interesting one. Let us see how to do this kind of questions. So you can see here we have a molecule which is cycloalkene. So you can see here we have a pi bond in the system and then DCl is attacking on it and we have to predict the product. So very interesting. So let me give you a trick simply to solve this kind of questions. So what you have to do is first you should write this DCl, or I can say you should break this DCl into D plus and Cl minus. Why like this? Because we know that chlorine is more electronegative than deuterium. Alright, now what you simply have to do is you have to basically attach these positive and negative parts to the pi bond. Alright, and let us see how it works. So now you can see this is pi bond. Now this pi bond will definitely donate electrons to the D plus, isn't it? Why? Because we know that pi bond is electron rich, isn't it? And then D plus is electron deficient, so we know how the two will react. Alright, so now the question here is whether this pi bond will shift like this. That means whether the breakdown of pi bond will be in such a way that the electrons will shift towards this carbon, or is it the other way, wherein the electrons will shift towards the other carbon. So let us figure out. It is very simple to understand. So let me tell you. So you can see here you have a compound like this. and let us see where the pi bond electrons will shift. So I'm assuming that the carbon here is numbered as carbon 1. Let's assume it as, in fact, not 1. Let's follow the rules only. So here you can see the carbon, this one is number 1 and this one is number 2. So in first case, what I'm doing is I am shifting the pi electron towards carbon number 2. Let us see what we will get. Alright, so here you can see this is CH3. Now if electrons will shift towards carbon number 2, then we will get negative here and positive here. Alright, but let me tell you clearly, this negative charge you will not be able to see during the reaction. Why? Because there is a simultaneous attack of D plus also. So practically what you will get is this particular molecule. So here you will find D and then CH3 with a positive charge over here. Alright, so now you can clearly see this carbocation that we are getting is a 3-degree carbocation. So this is a 3-degree carbocation. Alright, and let's now see the other one that is possible. Let's say if the electron density gets shifted to the first carbon, then what we will get is CH3, and then here it is negative and here it is positive. So this is what we will get in such case. Now you can see in this case again the same thing. Negative you will not be able to see actually. Why? Because D plus will be simultaneously attacking. So what you will get actually is D here and then CH3 here, and then you can see a positive charge on this particular carbon, and in this case you can see the carbocation that we are getting is a 2-degree carbocation. I hope up to this it is very much clear to you guys, and we clearly know that a 3-degree carbocation is more stable than a 2-degree carbocation, isn't it? As you can see here, the number of alpha hydrogens in 3-degree carbocation is 3 plus 2 from this carbon and 1 from this carbon, isn't it? So it is, you can see the number of alpha hydrogens that we have is, let me write it clearly, just a minute. So in the 3-degree carbocation, the number of alpha hydrogens that we have is 3 plus 2, 5 and 1, 6. So we have 6 alpha hydrogens. Alright, I'm not counting deuterium as of now. Alright, because it will unnecessarily, you can say, complicate the problem, or you may feel confused whether to count D or not. So let's count the alpha hydrogens only as of now. So now in 2-degree carbocation, if you count, we have these 2 alpha hydrogens only. Alright, so here we have 2 alpha hydrogens. So now clearly I can see you are able to distinguish which one is more stable. So clearly 3-degree carbocation is more stable, and that is how we can say that this particular breakdown will not happen, you can say, in much amount, or you can say this will be a minor one. Alright, and the major product will be from this carbocation, which is more stable. And if you form the major product from this carbocation, what you will get is, you know, this D is present here and this is CH3, and obviously the Cl negative, the negative part will attack on this positive part, thereby what you will get is Cl to be attached with this carbon. Alright, and this will be your product. So let's now match with the options, and you can see in option A, on this carbon, you can say Cl is getting attached. That is absolutely right. Whereas on this carbon, you can see both atoms are hydrogen, and we know that one has to be deuterium, isn't it? But here, since it is absent, therefore this is not the right answer. Now in option B, if you see, on this carbon we have CH3 and Cl, which is right. But on the other one, and yes, on the other one we have D and H. Definitely this is also correct, isn't it? We know that on the carbon number 2, basically we have to have D and H, and on the carbon number 1 we should have Cl and CH3. So yes, definitely this is right. So moving to the next option, that is option C. Here you can see on carbon number 2 Cl is present, which is not at all correct, isn't it? So this is not correct. And in option D, again you can see on carbon number 2 we have put Cl, which is not correct. Alright, and yes, let me tell you one thing. I am saying carbon number 2, carbon number 2. So these numbers I am telling with respect to this particular molecule. Alright, whatever we have taken for this particular molecule, I am telling it with respect to that only. Alright, so clearly you are able to see that the right answer to this question is option B. And you can see in the question we have a reaction given. In fact, we have 2 reactions given, and we have to predict the major products A and B respectively. Very interesting case. So now you can see in the reactant side we have an alkene, which is ethene in this case, and then in case 1 we are reacting it with Cl2 in the presence of CCl4, and in case 2 we are reacting it with hydrogen in the presence of either nickel or platinum or palladium, isn't it? So let's see how to answer such questions. Very easy it is. So now let me first tell you, whenever alkene is made to react with CCl2 in the presence of CCl4, wherein the CCl4 act as a solvent. Alright, so in the presence of this solvent, what happens is basically the addition of chlorine across this pi bond. Alright, so the chlorine gets added across this pi bond, and the product that you will get will look something like this. You can see 1 Cl here and 1 Cl here. And let me tell you, this is very important. This addition is an anti-addition. That means the chlorines will attack from opposite sides. All right. Let's say one chlorine is attacking from below the plane, then the other one will attack above the plane. All right. And this is the product for you can say reaction A. That means the product A will be this particular molecule, which is 1,2-dichloroethane. All right. Now moving to the reaction wherein B product is getting formed. So here you can say it is simple hydrogenation in the presence of a catalyst, and we know this is a syn addition, which means in this case also the hydrogen gets added across this pi bond, but since it is syn addition, the addition will take place from the same side. Alright, so in this case we are getting simply ethane. Alright, so ethane is the product B and product A is 1,2-dichloroethane. Understood? And yes, let me tell you a little more about this reaction wherein the A is the product. So now you can see in this particular reaction where A is the product, first of all, the ClCl attaches to the alkene. Let me tell you how it happens. So this is CH2 double bond CH2 with ClCl. Now this pi cloud is shifted to the chlorine. Alright, this pi cloud is shifted to the chlorine, leading to breakdown of this bond. And what you will get is a 3-membered transition state. All right, a 3-membered transition state wherein chlorine will have the positive charge. All right, and now after this, the other chlorine which is left in the first step as Cl negative, that chlorine will attack on this carbon, leading to breakdown of this bond. All right, and there is that is how basically you will end up in getting this 1,2-dichloroethane. Understood? So are you able to understand this clearly? Let me repeat it again for you. So alkene plus Cl2, what you will get first of all is this pi electron cloud will get shifted towards chlorine, leading to the formation of a 3-membered cyclic 3-membered cyclic transition state, wherein this chlorine will have a positive charge on it. And then the other chlorine, which is Cl negative, will attack from opposite direction, leading to formation of 1,2-dichloroethane. All right. And in the next one, that is wherein you are getting option B. In that case, what will happen, in which you are getting product B basically. So in this case, what will happen is on the surface of the catalyst, which can be either nickel, platinum or palladium, the ethene molecule as well as the hydrogen molecule gets adsorbed. All right, so it will basically be like this. So let's assume this is the surface of the catalyst. So this ethene, let me show it clearly. Just a minute. Yes, so here you can see the ethene molecule gets adsorbed. So here this adsorption takes place. Along with the ethene, hydrogen molecule will also get adsorbed on this catalyst surface. All right. Now, upon adsorption, what will happen? The carbon and hydrogen will start forming bond with each other, leading to breakdown of this pi bond. All right. And this is how the addition will take place in this particular case. And this leads to formation of a syn product, wherein the both hydrogen atoms will be attacking from the same side. So let's now match with the options. And you can see in option A, it says 1-chloropropane as the product A and ethyne as the product B. We know that this is not right. So this is not the correct answer. Moving to option B, it says 1,2-dichloroethane, absolutely correct. This is product A. And in product B, it is saying ethane, which is also correct. So obviously option B is the right answer. Moving to option C, it says chloroethane. We know that this is not correct. Why? Because it has to be 1,2-dichloroethane. And option B is definitely rightly mentioned. But anyway, since option A is wrongly mentioned, it cannot be the answer. And yes, obviously none of the above cannot be the possible option here. So this is also not right. So anyways, you can see option B is the right answer to this question. And the question is, which of the following alkenes, you can say, in which of the alkenes the addition of HBr is easiest? So we have to like look for the options, and we have to figure out the alkene wherein HBr will easily get you can say attached, or it will easily react. Very interesting one. So first of all, let me tell you an important aspect of this reaction, and the important aspect is this reaction is first of all an addition reaction. Why? Because if you see the product of such a reaction, then you will see that H and Br from the HBr is getting added to the alkene. And since something is getting added, therefore it is called as an addition reaction. Very important. The second thing is, since H plus attacks first, therefore we can say it is an electrophilic addition reaction. Alright. So two things you are able to understand. First, it is an electrophilic addition. Second, the first thing is it is an electrophilic thing, and then the second is it is an addition reaction. Alright. So in total it is electrophilic addition reaction. Alright. So now you can see, whenever an electrophile has to attack, it will always look for those molecules wherein the electron density is high. Why? Because electrophiles are electron deficient, and definitely if the molecule will have high electron density, it will be, you can say, more lucrative offer for the electrophile to attack, isn't it? Because it wants more and more electrons. So now you can see we have to look for options wherein the electron density, or you can say the pi electron density, will be maximum. So you can see in option A, since Cl has minus I effect, we know that it will withdraw the electron density, and that is how we can say the pi electron density will not be that high in this case. Alright, because of the presence of partial positive charge on the carbon. Clear? So that is how you can say the carbon will hold the pi electrons, and the bond will not easily break, and thereby you can say the addition will not be that easy. Clear? And moving to the next option, that is option B. Again, you can see we have Cl as well as F. Now F is a bigger, you can say F has a bigger thirst for pulling electrons. Alright. So now you can see it has a stronger minus I than Cl in fact. And that is how it will again pull the electron density towards it. Although let me tell you very important thing. Although this inductive effect will not affect the pi electron density much, because this effect operates along sigma bond only. Alright. But still it will lead to development of partial positive charge on the carbon, isn't it? And if the partial positive charge gets developed on the carbon, they will hold the pi electron little more tightly, and that is how it will be very difficult for hydrogen to take these electrons, or you can say it will be very difficult for the pi bond to break and to participate in the reaction. Alright, similarly you can see in the option B, since we have two minus I groups, the development of partial positive charge will be even more. Why more? Because we know that F has a stronger minus I than Cl, and thereby the electron cloud or the pi electron cloud will not easily participate in the reaction. Alright, moving to option C, here we have NO2. NO2 is a very strong minus I group, and that is why the partial positive charge that will develop in this case will be maximum with respect to the other two. Alright, with respect to option A and B, it has to be more in option C, which means pi clouds will be more tightly bound and hence will not participate in reaction that easily. Now moving to option D, here you can see we have CH3, which is a plus I group, which means it will donate electrons, and thereby there will be no development of partial positive charge on this double bonded carbon. Instead there will be partial negative charge that will develop on it, and since partial negative will develop, the negative charge will repel the pi electron cloud, or simply you can say the development of negative charge will lower down the percentage S character of this carbon, which means the electronegativity will also get lowered down, and hence the carbon will not attract the pi electron cloud that strongly, so it will easily break and participate in reaction with HBr. So one thing is very clear, the easiest attack will be in case of option D. Why? Because we have an electron donating group present here. Alright. The other way to answer this type of questions is you can first form the carbocation and then you can check the stability of carbocation. The case wherein you will have the carbocation with maximum stability is going to be the answer, because in that case only the attack will be easiest. Alright, so that is another way to answer this question. But yes, you can see here as we have answered it using the basic concept, so option D is the answer according to it.